Hello and welcome. My name is Ramkiran Balal, and as always, today I'm going to introduce yet another guest for all of you. We're going to be talking about a sport which is now being played extensively in India, but the lady whom I'm going to introduce today played the sport at the highest level at a time when the sport was not even considered a mainstream sport in India. She played basketball at the highest level 2 decades back, playing for India, and from there on, going to coach a lot of teams here in India and abroad, training a lot of children in the process. And she's been invited by certain major institutions in the United States of America for certain events. We should be talking about this more with the lady herself. Welcome to the show, Pavitra Chandra. Good afternoon, Pavitra.
Good afternoon, Ram.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
It's my pleasure, Pavitra. Having you on the show is really an honor for me, really. I mean, I've met you for the last few years now, 4 or 5 years, and every time I meet you, it is so much that you come out with. So it's always a pleasure. And so there's so much to talk. I mean, you have done so much. I mean, just to give a brief update to the viewers, I already given an introduction to you. You played basketball, you've been a coach, you've been a mentor, you traveled across the world, and you played basketball at a time when basketball wasn't even a mainstream sport. Yeah. So I'm just going to first start, right from here. Your childhood was pretty fascinating. You apparently played baseball at a junior level, you played cricket at a junior level, and of course you played basketball. First of all, they're not sports. I mean, cricket is a sport which is played in India, but definitely not baseball and not basketball at that point in time. And to top it, you are a girl. How did this? How did you get into this? I mean, I would like to hear a little more on this, your initial journey, and where did it happen? Was it in Bangalore or which part of the country?
Yeah, right. Of course, I'm a girl, and I'm very proud of the fact. And my journey started. My earlier days were back in Baroda, city in Gujarat. We spent a few early years there before we were in Mumbai. So during that time is where I think I got a little, as growing up as a child, I was always active. I enjoyed being outdoors. So in that sense, whenever I would go out in the evenings to play, because, we did not have such academic pressures as the kids of today have. So we still had more free time back then, and we were allowed to use the evening times to play. So that's when I realized that I enjoy playing outdoors, and participating in sports was something that started growing up slowly from there on. Of course, we did move from Gujarat back to our hometown, Bangalore. And while I was in school, I got a little more exposed to basketball. And then when I came into college, when I went into college at Bishop Cotton's, I got exposed to baseball. So the early childhood, it's all about the opportunities and exposures that are made present to you while you're growing up. So thanks to the institutions and schools that at least had these programs, even though not at the level that we wanted it, or even though it was just injected into the system for the sake of it, but it still did good to us. So I think that's how I ended up taking up most of these sport. Yeah, I would any day love to be outdoor than be indoors. I'm more of a visual learner, so I feel I learned a lot from the ground than I would have done in the four walls of the classroom, because theory always puts me to sleep.
Fascinating. Considering the fact that, those were unusual sport for a country like India at that point in time, and you just explored all this at such an early part of your career. That's exactly what children need to be doing, isn't it? Play multiple sports, and we are going to talk about what sport does and why they should be playing as we go into this conversation. But you just said that you're very proud being a girl, and this is something I think this is something very close to your heart. You are very, very passionate about empowerment of the girl child, right? And you obviously played sports at a time when I think considering the time that you played at that time. Probably there was more gender bias at that point. I'm not saying it's not there now. I think it's still there. But was it there at that point? And did you face any? How did you handle that? What would be your advice to young girls playing sport now?
Oh, yes. I mean, gender bias has been there at different times and eras and at different levels. Definitely when we were growing up, we did face it. No, perhaps not at the intensity of which probably our mothers and grandmothers faced it.
Right.
We were more progressive compared to them. And if you look at in today's time, girls are got more opportunity and more progressive right now. But going back to your question as to what it was, did I face anything during that time? Yes, most certainly. I must, Ram, tell you this incident which I had, growing up as a kid in Baroda. So one of the evenings when we went down to play and I saw all these boys playing cricket, and I called up to my friends and I said, come, let's go join them and let's play cricket. They're like, are you crazy? You think they're going to allow us to play? Do you think they'll allow us to join them in the first place? Yeah. I said, yeah, but we'll ask them. Let's just ask and see. I mean, they hesitated to come. So I just decided to go on my own. And I asked the boys, hey, I want to join and play with you guys. And they also didn't know how to react because they're just not used to girls coming and asking to play. So they just looked at each other's face and then they said, okay, you can go stand at the back, and every time the ball goes out of the boundary, just
pick the ball for us.
Yes, we're like a pet puppy, But I was quite excited enough that I had cracked into the team. So I said, yes, done. And I told the girls, look, we can play. And somehow they didn't show much interest, but I went in. And I realized that I was fielding for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I'm like, batting kab aayega? All I'm doing is fielding. Neither am I getting batting or bowling. So, I was very disappointed. I kept asking the boys and they said, you'll get it, you'll get it. So I went up one day crying up to my mother and I told her, I said, Mom, I want a bat of my own because these boys are not allowing me to bat. Like most Indian parents, she had to dangle something out there. And she said, if you come 1 in 10th rank, I will get you a bat. And I said, okay, let's crack it. And I just burnt the midnight oil and, studied and studied. Big shot with 12th grade. Mm-hmm. Sorry, 12th rank. And soon when that happened, I thought, shucks, now my mom's not going to buy me the bat. I'm stuck feeling for the rest of my life. But to my surprise, my mother came up to me and said, come on, let's go get your cricketing set. And I was like, I didn't come in 1 in 10. She said, I like the effort you put in, so I think I'm going to reward you for that. And I jumped up and I bought, Tom, you should have seen, I bought the pads, the stumps, the bails, the glove, everything.
The whole thing.
The whole thing, the whole kit. I was packed up at 3 o'clock for a game for 5 in the evening because I was excited. And when the boys came in the evening, they were like, wow, you have all these, because you know how gully crickets are played,
yes.
Stones as wicket. So to have this whole thing was absolute luxury.
Yes.
But I knew that if I had a bat, I could probably negotiate with them for a better,
a chance to bat.
Yes. And when they saw the bat and they were like, wow, you have a new bat. And I said, yes. This is my bat, and I will bat the whole day today, no matter how many times I get out. So, though that was innocent at that time, it was not done with an intention of trying to, break discrimination or such. But it was innocently done, and it is something that we did face, but not in a very harsh, negative way, but in its own subtle ways as we kept growing up. And then when we graduated, and I came to Bangalore and started playing cricket and baseball as well, alongside basketball. I started noticing that it's more the discrimination in the sense not taken seriously. You're not taken seriously. It's just for the sake of having it, or assuming it's just an entertainment. But at the men's sport or the competition which happened, you would have noticed, whenever we have even state championships and stuff. The trophy for the men is so big, and the trophy
Yes.
for the women is so small.
Yes.
I don't understand. It's the same tournament. It's the same league. We're going through the same formats.
Absolutely.
And we're coming up. So these subtle things were trying to, was something that you were observing and wondering that why is it? And why is it always, it's not to say that men don't deserve it. Of course they deserve it. But it's just that, women are competent enough. Give them the due respect and the opportunity that they rightly deserve. So that was the only thought that came, and it was just, building on from there. Yeah. So
was it a downer? I mean, how does it affect a girl child when these things happen, to them consistently?
It depends. It depends on the individual and how the child is brought up, the surrounding and the environment they've been brought up in. Probably, I was, very fortunate, not probably, I am very fortunate to have had a very good family and great support from my parents. And I have never experienced any discrimination within even the family, immediate or extended. It's been more like my brother and I were brought up like twins, literally, so every opportunity was opened up to us. So for me, when I saw something that I felt was not correct, it was quite natural for me to question or stand up for it, or ask for that equality, because you've been experiencing that back home. But if you are a person or a child that is not getting the support at home and sees the same outside, it gets induced within their mindset that this is probably the way it is. This is how it should be. So they condition their mind to think that maybe this is how it is, because they've not seen an alternate opportunity, or there is a possibility. So for all the girls, I would say, it's not about trying to be empowered or trying to go show there that you're a brave woman or something. It's not that. Every human being is gifted with a talent, whether you're a man or a woman. And if you have that talent, and if you have that passion, and if you have a heart that desires you to be there, then you should go for it, irrespective of gender. So you shouldn't, sit back thinking that's only for boys. No, it's your way. Look at yourself first as a human being, then think of yourself as gender, whether you're a woman or a man. I think that mindset will help girls to walk their path more confidently. And if there's no path, then they can be trailblazers.
Well spoken. Excellent. Yeah, coming from a woman who's done it all. Yeah. So, Pavitra, tell us about basketball now. You went on to play for India when? This was in 1999, 2000? You played for India at that point, and what was it like playing basketball at that point in time? Any interesting stories? How were your teammates? Anything that you remember from that point which still sticks in your mind?
Of course. Yeah, when you're playing so many sports, you're meeting so many people, you're making so many friends, you're traveling so much, you're having so many different experiences that it's quite fascinating as an individual. At least for me it was. So when I was playing all the three sports, in fact, for cricket, I was called in for the junior, sub-junior, junior, and senior levels. While for the baseball, I was also called up for the Indian camp. But when I give my selection trials for basketball for the state team, I somehow did not make the cut. And I think that kind of got me thinking that, what am I doing? I'm a jack of all, master of none. And baseball was, it was happening. It was easy. I knew I was going to make it to the team, and I was performing very well because thanks to the boys I played with, so I was pretty good with my hits. And,
and there was a crossover between cricket and baseball, the batting, the striking part of it.
Yes, pretty much the same. That's how I got picked up by the state cricket team coach, because my college coach put us on to practice. He in Kantirava Stadium back then, where the indoor stadium is right now, it used to be an open playground back then. And there was a tree, so the coach took an old tire, bike tire, and he tied it up to the rope onto one of the branches, asked one of the boys to hold it, and he gave me the slugger, and he said, the slugger, and he said, just keep hitting it, just swing the bat. And I kept practicing it, and I think it coincidentally at the same time, one of the state selectors and coach were passing by. They stopped their vehicle and they kept watching me hit the thing. And then they later approached my baseball coach and said, "There's an open selection for cricket. You have to send this girl there." And so that's how I ended up going to cricket, and then, like they say, the rest is history. So I played all these sports. I was doing pretty well, not just, I was enjoying them as well.
Right.
But I think what triggered me with basketball was that you didn't make the cut. So there was scope for improvements. It's always nice when you know something's denied and you want to work. Why am I not good? What is it that I can do within myself to make myself better and make that? So I think that kind of lit a bit of fire and a desire. So then I said, I had a little talk with my dad, and he said, he thought I should focus on baseball because I was already going to be part of the national team. But I felt, there was more competition in basketball compared to baseball.
Yes.
And when there's competition, they always push you to be your best. Correct. And I think I wanted that competition and that drive. So that's how I came into basketball, decided it. And when I was practicing and training, we did not have very organized structure, and I didn't know too much about the club levels, and I didn't have so much knowledge about it. So one of my school seniors put me on to a club which is close by to my house. And I used to go and sit there with a basketball and in my 9th grade and watch all the men play in awe. And I'm like, wow, look at this speed, look at the fitness. And this game is fascinating.
Yes.
I mean, with due respect, I've played cricket and baseball also. With cricket, when you play basketball, everything else seems slow.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because everything is so quick, fast.
Very fast.
And I think that challenge was exciting. That was quite captivating as far as I was concerned. Yeah. So it so happened that every day I used to sit, and when the men team, the Vijay Bank team, the former national players, they would come and train there, and they would go. And fortunately, I'm quite a good, like I told you, I was a visual learner, so I'm quite a good observer as well. So I used to watch them do those drills or tricks or whatever they were trying. And once they left, I would try and train that. They would switch off the floodlights and go away. But I would keep doing that training. It so happened that the captain of the Indian national team, who also happens to stay by the court, kept watching me play continuously. He saw this girl comes every single day, sits quietly, watches us for hours together. And after we leave in the dark, she tries all these things. And I think, I don't know if he took pity or he saw there was potential. And he came up to me and he said, "Do you want to train?" And I was in awe because, we're so hungry for knowledge.
Right.
You want someone to teach. You don't know whom to ask. You're too scared. You're too young. And like you said, at that time, you don't know if, you're supposed to go as young girls. We're a little more taught to be, a little more timid.
Yes.
Don't be brash and stuff like that. So, and I also personally used to be a very shy kid. So I did not know how to approach. So having the captain of the Indian team come and tell you, "Are you interested in training?" That really was a big journey with he later on became my coach and mentor for, I think, even till today, for a good 20, 25 years.
Wow.
We have respect, and he trained me well enough to be competent. I mean, the training regimes was so intense because you've now gotten into a different frame. It's not no more recreation. Now you without your knowledge, you're sinking into the structure, sinking into the system, and then now you're thinking about, okay, I need to improvise. I need to be better at the game. I need to learn this, and you're enjoying it too, side by side.
Yeah.
My mom asked me to check with my coach, what's the training fees that needs to be paid. So very hesitantly and scared, I went up to him and he said, hoping that I'm not going to offend him, I did ask him, his name is Gautam sir. I said, "Sir, what's the training fees that I need to pay?" He just looked at me and smiled and said, "The day you wear the national flag on your jersey, that will be my introduction."
Oh, wow.
So I was happy, and I was so respectful of, because somebody was willing to take that time out of their life, and they're willing to give, because the role of a coach, most people don't realize this, the role of the coach is so important in everything that is going to come your way as you go forward. So people tend to overlook. Just the way a teacher is important
Yes, yes,
in a classroom, the same way
right.
a coach is so important. And unfortunately, we within our region, we don't see the importance. We don't give them the due respect. We don't understand that what power they have within their
Yes,
hands.
yes.
So I was very blessed. So since I had that coming from the best, I did not want to, waste it, and I wanted to
Wasted.
respect the time they gave and the belief that they had within us. I mean, if he can believe in you, then you also start dreaming. People start,
True.
then you start performing well, then people make
Yes.
dreams. So then that became a driving force and a 1 point goal, and then you start training, and eventually that day happened. And I think the most memorable for me would be to come and hand over that jersey to him.
Oh,
And
wow.
say
Okay.
thank you for having that faith and trust, and for
I've
investing,
made it. Yeah.
and all because of the support I had from him, without a doubt. So those training regimes were hard. At no point did he see. He even told me, "I'm not going to treat you like a girl."
Yes.
So your training has to be pretty much like how the others are going to be training, and he was merciless when it came to
As far as the training regime was concerned. Yeah.
yes, as far as the training regime was concerned. So yeah, I mean, it was more like a military regime, to be honest. Waking up in the morning and be there in the court. When everybody's getting up and going for their morning's walk, we finished our workouts and we're getting back. So it was pretty much like that. And whether it's putting sand, those days, of course, gyms were still coming up. So he would put sandbags on my leg, take me for long cyclings up to Nandi Hills, and getting up early morning, putting 30 kgs on your shoulders and doing the jumps to improve your jumps. And things like that. So it was very, very intense, to be honest.
Amazing, amazing. So that's so much. There's so much that a coach can actually do, isn't it? Yeah, it's so important. I mean, it just can't be understated. We are going to talk a little bit more about the coaches in a little while. I just want to ask you this question now. If you've seen, I mean, over the last 30, 40 years, you see a lot of women who come up the ranks, right up there, very close to the to the elite athletes across the world. You've seen P.T. Usha just missing it by a whisker at Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And from there on, I mean, we had so many women athletes coming in, right then you had Shiny Wilson, then Anju Bobby George, then now there's P.V. Sindhu, Saina Nehwal, there's Mary Kom. So there's a question here that I have for you. If you compare that to the men, well, other than cricket, barring a few, you're not seeing many of these men coming through the ranks. We still talk about Milkha Singh, which is, like what, 1,000 years back, So, so my question is, why is this so? Is it because women are more motivated, or is it because women may be genetically more predisposed than men in our country to compete with the best against the world, whether it's the Americans, the Europeans, the Afro-Americans, the Africans, Asians? Are women more genetically predisposed to be competing at the very best, at the highest level? Is that the reason, or is it something else?
Well, Ram, I believe neither of them. I mean, okay. I don't believe, if you really want to think it from the perspective of genetically being predisposed, or was it just a coincidence that they were, making it to the podium? Certainly not. If you look at it from the genetics point of view, if you see the Afro-American women, or even the women from the European segment, from the build, their height and their muscle mass and etc., we as Indians definitely have a different structure to be living up with.
Yeah.
So it's not something that we have been blessed. What is amazing to notice is that despite of that, we are there. And all this is without any organized structure in place, or any support be it finance, or mainly something that I've always advocated strongly and believed in is sports science. And when you go to the world level, when you're competing at world level, Ram, it's not like you're competing in a local championship. There are people, the best of the best are being fed from all over the world.
Yeah.
And they come with a different backing, whether it's a developed country, underdeveloped country, and especially if you're competing for the podium finish, then you are definitely touching upon the best in the sport, who are having the best backup. And generally these come from very highly developed countries who believe and have the resources to invest within sports science, the support staff, the coaching staff, and the entire whole 9 yards. And to think of it, of what P.T. Usha did, or even Milkha Singh ji, what he did back then, and to all our predecessors, it's hats off to them that they have done this without any of these things.
Yes.
I will leave it up to your imagination to think, if we were to get such an organized structure, if we were supposed to get that kind of a system and finance and backup, what and where we would be and what kind of an achievement would be in general, whether men or women. Now, coming to your question of whether, what about women? I mean, if you see women are doing well, of course women are doing, and why do I think they're doing well? Is because of the sheer hunger and the fire and the pure emotion, everything clubbed into it, and they just bring it out onto the field.
Right.
Because there has been suppression, there has been oppression, there has been discrimination, there has been biases, there's been inequality, and all these at any point in time. You ask any woman in our country, and not just our country, most places, but specifically in our country, and everybody knows that girls are not given that opportunity. So there is this desire that I want to prove why I'm gifted, I'm talented, I'm capable. Give me a chance. Why can't I do it?
Yes.
So it's that approach, that attitude, and that drive. And women are also committed. It's not that, and generally we tend to want something that we don't have. And the desire and the fire for that is more. Perhaps since the boys had it a little more easy, maybe that drive was not as strong comparatively. Probably that's where you could see the slight amount of difference. But in terms of commitment, yes, women, when these women are trailblazers for the simple reason they picked up a sport that was nothing and nobody knew about it, nobody talked about it, and they made something out of it. And which is why they command the respect that they do today. Most people want to go play cricket because it's already an established one and it's popular, it's on the TV, it's glamorous, it's money. Parents are okay for you to go and play it because you can make a career there. But what about the other sport? So the women didn't have anything to choose. So they didn't have any, mark to touch on. They just spread like wildfire everywhere. And they took what came along and what they felt they could make a dent in, and they just went on doing it. And it turned out that they just ended up becoming trailblazers for their sport. And not just in our country, they started making the dent even out of the nation. I mean, on the world platform.
World stage.
So it was this drive, it's this commitment and the desire. And like I've said before earlier, see the talent, see the talent before you see the gender. So it's more of, that approach. So yes.
Totally. Yeah. So in a way, it's they are just playing, or it's not just a sport that they're pursuing. They're breaking so many barriers in the process, right?
Because they know a lot of young girls are watching. I watched a lot of women play before me. So so that was a motivation for me to know that it's doable. We Indians are very highly emotional people, and we connect to a lot of things, to what we see and whatever is tangible. And when we are able to see women do something, it's like, I can do it too, or maybe why not? Or there is a point to, take that reference when you're debating or arguing with a parent to give you permission to participate in whatever you want to. So the more such women are visible, they're also creating a ripple effect for others and for other young girls to know. It's very important for someone to know that it's doable. When they see role models, it's easier for
Yes,
them to
yes,
make
yes.
sure that they are spreading this passion,
Yeah,
not just to
yeah.
themselves, but to everyone around in the community.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thanks for enlightening me a bit on that. I was actually thinking there must be something to do with the genetics. I mean, how is that the women are just, you know, they're so close. I mean, they're almost winning medals, and they are winning medals. I mean, PV Sindhu has won a silver medal, and I'm sure she'll win a gold very soon. You know. So this now, Pavitra,
Uh, so
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
definitely, we are good in as Asians. We're good in eye hand sports.
Yeah,
Of course, we have to also pick up certain things that we're really good at, which I believe, if you see, that's why we're mostly excelling in sports, which also require a very strong eye-hand coordination kind of a
yes,
sport.
yes, yes.
Yeah, but that's as far as genetics or our DNA is
Yeah,
concerned.
yeah, yeah,
But I think what really propels it is the
yeah.
fire in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Totally agree with you. You know, women are performing so well at every level. But if you look at the statistic, the data, girls start late in sport or any form of physical activity. Their average is about 7 years plus. And they end earlier, stop playing sport earlier than the boys, around average of 12 years. Yeah. And this is not a phenomenon just here, it's happening worldwide. So this is a very disturbing trend. I mean, how does one address this? Why is this happening? And how do you think this can be kind of rectified? I mean, they surely should be participating a little more. At least they until they're post adolescence and post pubertal phase when they're 14, 15. Give them a chance till 15, 16 years at least to be playing, right?
I would say give them a chance to play till they're 40, 50.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. I
Yeah.
just gave a number. But obviously, it's if they play if they're active for life, nothing like it. But 7 to 12, that's a very very narrow age group.
Very right, Ram. You picked on a very crucial point, and that's a very important question. Not just for our country, but this is a phenomenon that we're seeing even worldwide. But more so, it happens. I can speak more so for India for the simple reason of our cultural barriers. Culture is one of the reasons that we are still hesitant to let our girls go out and play. Why this happens is because from my experience while training the young girls at our academy, I've noticed the same trend. We've seen the same percentage drop down as they're growing older, and we gave it a lot of thought how this has to be worked out because something was not fitting right. And like you
Right.
rightly said, they're good. First of all, we're starting very late. We should be starting early. I mean, if the kid starts at the age of 7, then by the time they prime, most Indians, what I see, are coming to their prime of their performance in their early 20s or mid 20s.
Yeah.
Whereas they should be getting to their prime with their fitness and everything by the time in their early teens. Because that's what's happening if you're comparing on a world stage. Athletes are, because they're starting early. So we should be able to start our kids as early as 3 is what I recommend strongly. But 5 is still also a good age to start. 3 is because you're just allowing them to get familiarized with the environment, the surroundings, and helping them develop their motor skills. At 7, they're developing a mind of their own, so they're able to grasp a little more things. 5 and 7 is the right time. They should be actively involved in sport. Now, what sport they choose is very difficult because every parent needs to take them to different sport and check where the kid takes an interest and liking for, because it's very important at that age for them to have fun and love it. If they don't, then they're not going to pursue it themselves.
All right.
So it's important to make sure that they are having fun and they are in a safe and clean environment, which is very, very important. The third factor which comes into question is where the oldest, the grandparents or some of the orthodox people believe that once a girl reaches her puberty, she should not be involved in high physical activity, which is not going to serve her good, or she's it's her physique is going to change and things like that. However, in recent times, these biases have been changing. They're not like what they were before. It's changing. We're in the transition phase. We are just moving from that mindset, but it will take some more time because these were things that were embedded within their minds for years, thousands of years. And to make that change, it's going to take time because every change is met with resistance. And but now, because of the access to internet, people are traveling, young parents are more exposed to what's happening around the world. They're more open and they're okay to allow young girls to participate. But they believe that, this mindset, this myth is something that needs to be wiped off from the minds of parents. Even a lot of educated and well-informed parents too, sometimes I've come across that have a myth that girls shouldn't play once they reach their puberty and things like that. Because they just believe of all these things. And the other factor is safety. Yes. Safety is a huge, it's a big concern for any parent, anyone, you and I, anyone would be concerned to let our child go out to play and not know that they're in the safe hands. And as you know, in Bangalore, at one point we had, a series of issues of coaches and young girls or raped and things, which obviously shut the minds of the people even more and took a few steps backward, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yes, but that also gave way to a lot of other things to, pay attention to from the authorities, from the concerned divisions to look into and things like that. But that was a concern because most parents are like, if I leave a girl child there, is she safe? Is a coach a male or a female? And many parents are not comfortable leaving young girls with male coaches as well. So these are all the concerns. So which are fair enough from their point of view, which makes it more, a concern for the people who are organizing to take all these concerns into consideration and try to see if we can provide more women coaches and provide a safe and a healthy atmosphere or where the parents can feel comfortable and not take their girls back. Now, the girls stopping the game could be only of two factors. One, either the parent is not allowing them to play, or they're being told they shouldn't be, or because they are not decision makers, the parents are decision makers. The second factor is the girls don't enjoy it themselves because they've been not given equal opportunity, or they've been made to feel, incompetent. If we are able to address both these factors, then we're able to keep young girls, because a young girl doesn't understand empowering women. Young girl doesn't understand gender discrimination. A young girl only feels it. She doesn't understand it, but she just feels it.
Yes.
So all the more it puts the responsibility upon our shoulders as organizers or facilitators or coaches to ensure that such atmosphere is created where these young girls don't want to go, don't want to stop this sport, but and then we have another challenge to attend with the parents, where they can be educated, informed, and given the confidence to make this. By using these methods, we can definitely change, and there will be a shift in their mindsets and approach as we go forward, provided we continue this trend. I mean, my experience, what I saw was, and while I was in the US over a program, which we, of course, will be, touching on what the American did to their young women was passing off the bill for the Title IX, something called this Title IX, which gave women equal access and opportunity to sport, just as boys do. I will not go upon to all the details, but it's very simple. It's a simple thing to understand. Every penny that is spent on the boys' sports should be spent on women's sport as well. Everything has to be equal. So, and this was done about 50 years ago, and it didn't happen overnight. So it took 50 years, and today we see women, American women, dominating the highest world stage podiums.
Yes,
is because of something that was embedded in a system and a structure was put in place. So whether by choice or by default, when you're opening up the doors and opportunities, talent starts coming in. Talent is getting recognized. Talent is reaching where it ought to be. So if we are able to make something more, because if we give the choice, it'll take more time. But if you make it a little more mandatory, because, and especially for Indians, we only work by rules, and we still don't do that also, but nonetheless, we still break the signal red lights, but we do need some, structure,
Absolutely.
little
Yes.
force from the system.
Yes.
That's when we can see young girls coming in and participating. We can bring down the number of people dropping down.
Yes.
And we can sustain. And when they sustain is when we can pick those talents.
Yes.
Then
When
find
you have a larger pool. Yeah. Yeah.
the pyramid will be wider then.
Yes, that's pretty well said. My next question, I think you touched upon this in this particular answer itself. Is about the parents. I mean, see, they're one of the biggest stakeholders in this. They're biggest influencers in terms of kind of motivating a child to pursue sport, get physically active. It looks like that more can be done along, on these lines. Do you have anything specific that you want to tell to parents?
I'll need another hour from you, Ram. That's specific. I have too many things to say. But for the simple reason that they are the stakeholders and they are the decision makers
Yes.
of another beautiful child.
Yes.
So, which is why I feel that their role is also equally important. I've always said between a child, a coach, and a parent, it's like a tripod.
Yes.
We all have to walk hand in hand and work together with a common interest. Even if one backs out or if, doesn't participate or perform to their potential, then the tripod's going to rumble up and fall down. So it's so important that they have to play their part. Now, most of our Indian parents mistake that my part is when I sign them up and pay the fees, I'm done.
Yes.
So they think that providing them with the financial assistance or the opportunity to participate, their responsibility ends over there. It isn't that. So the job of a parent is to make sure that you are keeping healthy talks with your child, because a lot of adult issues are seen from which have been cultivated from the experiences that are sprouted from childhood. Right. So how you talk to your child, how you encourage your child to participate in sport and why it is important, before they understand, you need to understand. So it's important that you also get yourself on the field and play something for you to know, because it's not all about marks. Nobody remembers who was the last rank holder in 10th grade or 12th grade. Maybe for 1 year you have a news report and after that people forget about it. But yes. What the kids need to know is, and whatever education is teaching us today might not be needed a decade
Absolutely.
later.
Yes. It's changing so much. Yeah.
It's changing at such rapid speed. So, yeah. But what doesn't change is the fact that you can teach your child to be a good leader, to be a good, a participant in a team sport or a team activity, a person with grit, person with ethics. You can teach your child to be somebody with resilience, never
yes.
give up. And yeah. This is the place where you can teach your child what failure is and how you can come about, even without speaking a word. This is the power of sport. It's going to teach them how to accept failure and yes. Still come about that. And it's not like life was always, smooth road for all of us. If there's anything,
exactly.
It still is. And the only reason we bounce back is because it got conditioned into our system that, you fail. Oh, you lost a match. No problem. Practice, practice, practice. Come back again the next day. Or you lost this. Okay, take a break. Think about it. Restructure. Come back again. That mindset is
yes.
what teaches you. And these things don't change even 100 years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On and on. So as parents, instead of focusing onto the marks or just the academic, which is equally important, but if you can push your child to develop all these things by creating a healthy atmosphere within your house and choose the words that you are speaking to them, not telling them, like I see most parents, saying, don't worry about them. You think about yourself. You make the basket. You be selfish. You make that basket. Don't give that pass. I've noticed parents speak on such levels. I'm speaking the terminology of basketball.
Yes.
But it can be applied to all other sports. It's not that it's wrong. You're trying to tell them to be more competitive, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But the line between where you're pushing them from competition to a person because
Yes.
you are then creating a demon which will come back to bite you later in your personal life.
Yes.
The
Exactly.
is going to know that being selfish is okay. So myself is what the kid is always going to think if that's what you're going to teach them. But you
Absolutely.
tell them it's okay if you lost the match, but did you have a good time? Did
Yeah.
you engage your teammates?
Yeah.
Did you have a conversation? And are you thinking about how you want to improvise and come back next time?
Yes.
These are the kind of conversations you need to have as parents. They need to have with children to keep them on track and to make sure your job is just not to enroll them into a sports program, but to give the coach a beautiful child who's willing to work hard. You have to give a child with an open mind to that coach. Now, what happens is most of the Indian coaches are parenting more and coaching less because
Yes.
the basics are missing.
True.
And the coaches have to now teach them how to eat, how to walk, how to talk, how to
Yes.
dress, how to think like an athlete, how to
Yeah.
behave like an athlete. And they spend most of their time doing this because unless you do this, we cannot teach you this sport
Yep.
because
You
how will
can't
you
go
be
to
a
the
team
next
sport?
level.
You can't go to the next level. So, and then they'll come, the very parent will come back to you and say, why is my child not progressed? I'm sorry, because we were parenting them.
Yes.
Give us a kid with a mind who says, I'm ready to work hard. Give me what it is. A kid who's hungry for knowledge, a kid who's open-minded, loving, smiling, positive. I know it's not, something that we want all the time. We're willing to work with you on this as coaches, but you must realize that you have far more responsibility than you imagine you have right now. So once you're able to get that on and get the kids up, trust me, easily I can tell you about, maybe about 80% of the women in America who are holding good top positions in corporate level have all played sport at some point in their life. And a good 69% of them agree that they are in the decision-making positions or key roles in their organization for the simple reason that they were able to translate all the learning that they had on the ground onto their work life. Yes. And it's spilled over, so into their personal life as well. So this is why parents need to understand that it's just not a game, it's just not a time pass, or it's just not 2 hours I put them away so I have my free peace. Peaceful time. So
yes.
They can, you can do this collaboratively in a very nice way with the coaches so that life becomes easy for all.
You have a lot more to say on this, don't you? But let's move on anyways. So, Pavitra, you went on, to coaching kids. You started a company called B7 Sports. You had a very successful academy, but I think you had to face some hurdles there. You, as an athlete, there are hurdles. As a coach, there are hurdles. Tell me, what was this like? What is this whole process? Other than you obviously built an academy which was very, very successful. I'm sure kids would have really enjoyed it, and I believe when parents were kind of very, very appreciative of what you were doing.
Yes, Ram. It was always. It was my dream to come back into sports, initially for the simple reason that I had experienced so many things and I had observed so many, lack of systematic structures or inclusion of the way things have to be done in a professional and organized manner. So I saw a great opportunity there and a scope for things to be changed, the way they were perceived and the way they're, the way sports is looked upon in this country. So back then, 20 years ago itself, I was very keen that I will come back into sport. But yes, I did face, as an athlete, I faced a lot of challenges, which made me more stronger. I'm thankful for those days, because if it wasn't for that, then I probably would have not pushed and seen this side of myself. I myself didn't know what the power and capacity I had unless and until I was put in that situation. So in a way, I'm thankful that such situations came, because it reintroduced ourselves, at least me, to myself. Yes. And I knew that what I'm capable of. I knew I'm not a mute spectator. I knew I'm not going to turn a blind eye. And I knew I have to take up responsibility to come up and do something. So now, of course, I started off with consult. B7 has 3 verticals, which we work on: sports consulting and sports event management. And I did work with the Paralympic Committee of India, as one of the first women on board as a director for operations, and was part of a couple of Commonwealth Games, World Games, and Asian Games, and so on. So these were, this gave me an idea of how we can rechannelize ourselves and where the problem lies and how we can touch upon. And I've always been a firm believer that, I was very lucky to have been born in a family that was supportive, who encouraged me. And then also I was lucky enough to be at the right place at the right time in the right hands of a right coach, which was a turning point in every aspect. So everything just fell in place. But I also understand that everybody's not as lucky or is not as well timed as this.
Yes.
So how do we create this, how do we address this to make sure that those who don't have this opportunity are given this opportunity? And I've always been a firm believer that one must never take their knowledge to the grave. Like I said, there are 3 phases in one's life where you are in a stage where you're acquiring that knowledge, and you're learning, you're in that learning stage. And then you come to the second stage where you use that acquired knowledge and you do something out of it, adding your own, inputs to it, and you enhance it. And you make something out of, your life, you achieve your goal or dream. And then comes the third stage where you pass on that baton to the next generation. And you improvise it and give it in a better way for them. Because in whatever way we received it, we're still, and I'm still grateful and thankful for whatever way, though I would have loved it in a different format, but I was still thankful for it. And that's when I felt we should do something. And now, to change the mindset, the 2 issues which I was really looking at from the children and the society or the community point of view was, of course, everybody says you're a 1.3 billion population. Why aren't you so talented? Why isn't there any outcome? Why isn't there, why are we lacking in sports and stuff like that? So in the sense when you're having this kind of a population, how do you tap upon these things? Now, I cannot change the mindset of the older men or people, but I can definitely tap on the younger minds, because they are very, it's easy to mold the young mind and shape them in the right way for the future of our country. And if you, not many people are aware, but India stands among the top 25 countries as far as these suicide rates go among the youth in the world.
Wow.
So we are also the highest population, we're the highest or the youngest, largest population in the world. Something is not sitting right. This doesn't address it properly. So that's my interest and my focus was towards children. And of course, being a woman myself, having treaded this path, and these were the 2 topics that I wanted to touch in the work that we do through our work. That's how B7 Sports Academy came into picture. And we wanted to put a lot of emphasis on the training structure. So we learned, I spent some time with a lot of sports scientists from Sports Authority of India. They were kind enough to share some of their knowledge and information. And through what I've experienced and through my travel, I was able to garner that knowledge, put up something and make sure that while it is fun in the grassroots level, but they're going to get exposed in a format that elite athletes who are getting trained for the national team, it should be emulated in the same way. Because, once they're used to it, by the time they come to that level, it's comfortable. They don't have to apply a conscious mind. It goes within their subconscious level. So that was the idea. And to get them a very structured place. So yes, the academy was, it grew organically. Became quite popular, and the kids loved it. They were the lifeline of that, and they were my biggest motivation, because there were so many challenges as a player, as a coach, as a facilitator. If you're looking at from every point, you're just getting bombarded, because I don't understand why. It's not like we were selling drugs or something, but I don't know why we were given so much trouble. And
unbelievable.
So when you look at the young minds and you interact with them, and that was my motivation all the time, seeing the kids, wanting to do the best for them because they deserve it. And I realized that these kids are something that can be molded, because we could started seeing the change within 3 to 6 months in their
Yes.
approach, the way they were
Yes.
dressing and the way they were talking and how they came together as a team. So it made me realize that it's not their mistake, it was our mistake. We were not creating that system. So
Absolutely.
they're responding to it. And I'm also very thankful for all the parents and kids who are part of the B7 Basketball Academy, because even though they were resistant by some in the beginning, but soon we were able to explain and educate and involve them, and everybody came wholeheartedly to kind of work together. That is why we were able to move fast towards success. Otherwise, it would have been a challenge trying to address only these aspects, which don't need our productive energy and time and resource. So yes, so it was but we did have a lot of issues. People want to take over nobody wants to put the ground, because it takes a huge Herculean effort. And I don't have to tell you how it is to work with local municipality or authorities or concerned people. It's a challenge, because see, simple thing, Ram, and to all your audience, I would say, next time you're going around in the city and you see all the playgrounds that are earmarked by BBMP, or in every community, as far as the rural is supposed to keep a certain percentage for recreation. If you see, do you see any place which is highly structurally infrastructure is developed? No,
not at all.
It's just left like a barren land. Number
No.
one. Number two, how many women do you see playing there?
Yes. Yes.
We are 48% of the 1.3 billion population. That is a good voting population.
Yes, absolutely.
And yet we don't have one ground.
No. Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it like, something.
Yeah, got it. It's not a gender thing or whatever, but.
Because a woman is the one who's going to bear the next healthy child for the future of this country.
Yes.
If you don't care for her health, then what are you doing? If you're not creating safe spaces, then what is the law doing? Yeah. If you're not creating the protectors of law, what are they doing if there are no spaces? And if the spaces are there and they're not utilized, then what are the authorities doing? Why aren't the girls playing there on the playground? Now, we know Bangalore has a huge problem of the traffic concerns that we have. So to go from one place to other, we take hours together. Yes. We are losing so much of our time, energy, and then we're losing our peace of mind, yelling at every fellow driver because, you know how it is in Bangalore. There's so much road rage and things like that. So if you have just one or two sporadic facilities in the center of the city, can everybody come and access to it? No, they won't be able to access that. Instead, if you take, and everybody wants the best. Why is anyone, if you ask any Indian parent, everybody's sacrificing, working hard because they want to give the best to their child. Yes. Now, if that parent has to take that kid every time to Kantira or any other place in the heart of the city, the commute, the time, the resources.
It's a drain.
It's a drain. It's a waste of time. So if from that point of view, if you look at it, why can't we bring that best training facility?
Community centers. I mean, there are places in every locality.
Exactly. Bring it to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Put it into the neighborhood.
Exactly.
So that the child can go by itself or cycle their way up there, or they could be just anyone from the family who could drop them and come back within 5-10 minutes. Yes. Which helps if both the parents are working, and the cost of living in Bangalore is so high that it demands for both parents to be working as well to meet the ends. So you have to keep all these factors into consideration. So when they don't do something, if you're not able to bring these world-class training facilities and people who can run, we have the right people, have the professionals. People have to move from this mindset of, I want free ground, I want free things, we are a freebie country, I understand that, but then we have to know that we cannot aspire. That if you want to be in that level, then you cannot ask a question why we don't have medals. Why aren't there people participating? Absolutely. But if you want to question us for that, then you have to change your mindset at this level, where you will see and you will realize that if I change my approach and have this kind of openness, have the right people, the professionals, have because they will be then answerable. They're accountable. And when they're answerable and accountable, you ought to get results.
Absolutely.
You ought to,
Yes.
elevate yourself. And we know that everybody's not going to make it to the national team, but can we build a culture around
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
We
yeah.
make that a lifestyle. Like, when I was attending one of the Women's Foundation conference, sports conference in Sydney, and in the evening, I decided to just take a drive to the neighboring stadium, and I was in awe to just see the fact most things shut down in
Yes.
by 4 or 5,
Hmm.
and I went to the stadium and I was just sitting there and watching cars zoom past. Everyone's coming, parking in the parking lot. The father's getting down, the mother's getting down, the kids getting down, and everybody, mom's going for her workout, the dad's going for his workout, the kids going to play their sport.
Yes.
And I'm like, when will India reach to this
Yeah.
level? I mean,
I
that
know.
would
I
be
know.
the ultimate dream to have it, and it will. It can. It's possible because it's
Yeah.
part of the culture. It's part of your lifestyle. It's part of your daily routine.
Yes.
It also gets you health. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
The
I was
byproduct.
yes, because 29% of our youth population that we're talking about are obese.
Yeah.
They are identified with hypertension. They're
Yes.
identified with depression.
Yeah.
There's so many issues that are going that they are suffering with that we are not
Yes.
able to address it, and which is why sport had to come into an organized and structured format. So that is how we were trying to convince the authorities and come into this, to start the academy. And we said that's how we had to inject ourselves to work with the authority within the community to set up the ground. And once the ground was set up, now there were so many people who wanted to take over it. And
Uh,
it's okay, so this constant problem. Then you have cricketers who are playing, and when I say cricketers, they're not the regular cricketers. There are
yes.
these
Yeah, they just go and play there on a
loiter around and
weekend. Yeah.
betting. There are a lot of nefarious activities that
Yes.
happen in the ground. There's drug, there's drinking, there's fighting. So
Yeah.
we wanted to clean up that place and that place to be used for what it was meant to be. Because, one of my other coaches, when I was in Mysore training for 3 years, he always told us that the training ground is like a temple. And I believed it because
Yeah.
it's a place which imparts knowledge and elevates you. And we must show our respect to that place. And these guys were coming onto the court and intruding within our training program, running, banging into the kids and the women coaches.
It's
And
terrible.
probably, because they were not used to seeing women in the ground, and they wanted to
Yes.
just intimidate us and threaten us at some point, where I myself was threatened on several occasions, and it was very dangerous. And many times we had to get the police involved. They would come up with their cricket bats or stumps with a gesture like they're going to beat you up and
Oh,
intimidate.
man.
And I had someone come close up to my face and said, I will get you in the hospital, if and like this.
Yeah.
So I said, don't worry, whichever hospital you put me in, I'll make sure in the same ward you'll be in the next bed, next to my bed, in the different bed. But of course, it's just that they will break the ground, we'll break the court, and they would tear
Oh,
the down,
man.
they would urinate on the court, they would break beer bottles on it.
How pathetic.
Throw mud on the floor and bring their bikes and do burnouts on the court, just to show their,
Frustration.
whatever it was, stuff. But hey, I'm a sports person too. I don't so
Fighting your way out is part of the skill.
that's what taught me never give up,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes this is quite depressing in a way. That's primarily one of the reasons why also I think, girls don't go out and play in this unless the environment is secure and safe, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no, my family definitely had concerns because if someone's coming and threatening that they will
Yeah.
have, things thrown on your face like acid, or they'll beat you up or
Yes.
hospitalize you,
Yes.
and use abusive and derogative language all the time. And this is happened for days together, months together, and years together.
Oh,
We were
dear.
there on the training. We're there for last 8 to 10 years. Yeah. And this happened very intensely in the early years with the external factors. Then you have
Yeah.
challenges from all other factors. So yeah, it can really suck the energy. But
Yes, yeah, I can imagine. I can just imagine. Oh my God.
yeah.